Hey guys, this is TMG here with yet another video. I say that like I've been making videos on a constant basis, but anyone who's been watching knows that's not the case. Why is there a weird intro like this? Because this video is unscripted. Why am I more enthusiastic than normal? I don't know. But anyway, today we're talking about Donkey Kong Bonanza. Let's just say it looks like a pretty cool game. I'll get that out of the way first. It definitely looks cool. It definitely gives me a lot of Mario Odyssey vibes. The art style is somewhat reminiscent of that game. The music in the advertisement is especially reminiscent of that game. In fact, maybe I'll even play a little sample for you. And, I mean, you even have a companion who sits on top of you in both games. I don't think it's a coincidence. I'm pretty sure it's the Mario Odyssey team that made this game, or is probably still making this game, because there's been rumors that the Mario Odyssey team has been making a Donkey Kong game for years now. But as cool as this game is, there is something I want to talk about regarding it. And that's that I don't think Donkey Kong's going to be the same from this point on. I'm not talking about Donkey Kong the character, I'm talking about as a series overall. As you know, or maybe you don't know, I can't assume your background knowledge. But there's 5 Donkey Kong Country games, and if you really want to bother me, you could say, oh, there's like 8 including the land games, but there's 5 Donkey Kong Country games, and I guess there was Donkey Kong 64, but that's not Donkey Kong Country game. As good as Donkey Kong Bonanza is, it definitely does a lot of things in terms of world building that is the complete opposite of what the Donkey Kong Country games would do. One example that immediately comes to mind is in some of the gameplay videos I've seen of it. There's literally just floating platforms. Floating platforms are a very rare occurrence in Donkey Kong Country games. There was a few in the first Donkey Kong Country. I don't think there was really any in 2, 3 Returns, or there was especially none in Returns or Tropical Freeze. But Donkey Kong series has always had a very large focus on being very grounded. Regardless of how cartoony some of the characters are, the world itself is very realistic and grounded. And it's always given Donkey Kong Country series at least, this very unique feeling, this very unique vibe. A specifically Donkey Kong Country vibe. And that's something I've always loved about those games. And another thing is the music. Any of the songs from the Donkey Kong Country series, I hear it and it's something about those songs specifically, they just sound like they belong in a Donkey Kong game, if you know what I mean. Like there could be many different genres: boss theme, underwater theme, jungle theme, cliffside theme. Regardless of what the theme is, it's has this, I don't know how to describe it, and I can't describe it, but it just sounds like it belongs in a Donkey Kong game. And it's kind of, again, with that thing, the music in Donkey Kong games is very atmospheric. It can still be bouncy, it can, still be energetic and things at the time, but it's less bold, I'd say. Donkey Kong music tends to be a little more, or at least start off as a little more soft, and I don't know if humble is a good word for it. I mean, and then maybe later in the game, the music all of a sudden becomes a little more loud, and this probably doesn't make any sense because it's unscripted, but sometimes it's just what it is. But Donkey Kong music's very atmospheric, and it adds on to that world building sense. You just hear it, and I think part of the reason Donkey Kong Country music is so unique is because other games, at least the other games I've played, don't use music quite in the same way. They kind of, a lot of other game series use music kind of, or not, well, you'll notice that I say the word kind of a lot. But other game series use music sometimes seems like a, not like a big part of the world, but just like a little thing they sprinkled on top, where with Donkey Kong games, the music is just as much part of the game as the gameplay is. And I'm not saying the music in this Donkey Kong Bonanza game is bad or anything, no. I'm just thinking it sounds a lot more like Mario Odyssey music than Donkey Kong music. And there's nothing wrong with that, but, you know, something slipped in my head while I'm watching all these trailers and all these gameplay videos that Donkey Kong's not going to be the same from this point on. It's going to be a little more Mario-like. We'll have some floating platforms. I think it's Donkey Kong's moving away from, you know, the Donkey Kong Country way of things, and it's going into a more sort of wacky world, I'd say. At least from what I've seen from these trailers and gameplay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it definitely saddens me a bit to think about that maybe I'll never get a game like, you know, Donkey Kong Country ever again. I'll still get good Donkey Kong games, that's probably a guarantee. But I don't know if I'll ever get a game like Donkey Kong Country again. A game that wasn't just a game, it was a game that made a place in my heart, right? It's a game that had a lasting impact on me. There's lots of good games. You know, this game reminds me a lot of Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey was definitely, it was a decent game. But, you know, that game didn't make a place in my heart quite like, you know, something like Mario 64 did, or the Donkey Kong Country games. So there's lots of good games, but I don't know if we'll have a game in the Donkey Kong series again that really, it doesn't just, it's not just fun, it really impacts you as a player. So that's my short little video, that's my short little rant. You can hate me if you want. I understand, and a lot of people told me this, that my opinions stink. So yeah. I know I can sometimes be a little bold with my opinions and feelings and stuff like that, but I wouldn't be sharing them if I didn't feel like there was a place for them. But at least think about this. I bet a lot of people playing this Donkey Kong Bonanza's game are people who have never played a Donkey Kong Country game, and the reason I'm saying that is because there's a lot of, this game almost seems like a spiritual successor to Mario Odyssey. It's, you know, it definitely has its own unique gameplay mechanics and gimmicks and things like that, but it definitely feels like a spiritual successor in terms of graphics, visual gameplay. It definitely feels like that. It doesn't feel like a Donkey Kong Country game. That's alright. But I think because of that, it's gonna maybe attract a little less Donkey Kong Country fans. I think a lot of Donkey Kong Country fans are still gonna get this game, but I think a lot of people who played Mario Odyssey, and that was like their first 3D Mario game, this is gonna be their introduction to what Donkey Kong is. Right? And the reason I'm thinking this game will, because it doesn't look like there's gonna be a 3D Mario game. If you want a 3D collectathon, this is your game. I think it's kind of like Nintendo's way of forcing all the Mario fans to start playing Donkey Kong games. And I know a lot of Donkey Kong fans are also Mario fans, but I'm just, from a lot of the people I've met, they either love a lot of people either love Mario and kind of like Donkey Kong, or love Donkey Kong and somewhat love Mario. I don't usually find too many people who love both. So I kind of see this as Nintendo's way of bridging the gap a little bit. But because of that, I think the Donkey Kong series is going to lose a little bit of what made it unique in the Donkey Kong Country games. They'll still be great games, I bet. But they're definitely going to lose a little of what made the Donkey Kong Country games so special. And I mean, this makes sense in a way. Nintendo didn't make the Donkey Kong Country games. That was Rareware and Retro Studios. This game, I think without a doubt, was made in-house at Nintendo. And I think this is the first in-house Donkey Kong game, I think, it's either Donkey Kong 3, the arcade game, or Donkey Kong Jr. Math, and I'm betting on Donkey Kong Jr. Math because that's an NES game. But yeah, Nintendo hasn't made a, in-house Donkey Kong game for a while. I mean, technically there was the Mario vs. Donkey Kong stuff, but you know what I mean, like the new innovative games. But yeah, I hope you like my what am I saying? I hope you enjoyed this little video with all my rambling and all my loose thoughts. I know I'm crazy. That's probably why a lot of people hate me, and that's also probably why a lot of people like to watch my videos, is because I'm crazy. But yeah, TMG out. Tell me what you think. It's still very early, my thoughts could change. My thoughts are always changing. In my brain, I'm always analyzing video games, and my perspectives are always changing. In fact, I go back and watch some of my reviews for other video games and stuff. I say other like this is a review. This isn't a review. And I realize, oh, my perspective has changed a little on this game. Maybe I still kind of feel, that I like this game, but I definitely have a new perspective. My perspective's always changing. I'm just that crazy type of person. Oh yeah, we went from Donkey Kong to talking about game reviews. Oh yeah, I will say I'm probably not gonna get this game when it comes out, just because I'm the type of person to wait 4 years before they buy the new console. You gotta wait till they make some console revisions and until the game library gets bigger. But when I eventually do get a Switch 2, I bet you can guarantee this game will be one of the first ones I get. So yeah, as a video game fan, there's basically 3 series I always come back to. That's Mario, Metroid, and Donkey Kong Country. So Donkey Kong's a very important franchise to me. And the whole reason I'm making this video is because I love Donkey Kong Country. So I'm hoping this game will kind of carry the torch. It might sting a little that we might not get another Donkey Kong Country game. I bet we will, but even with so, it'll probably have more Mario elements in it. Which I'm a Mario and Donkey Kong fan, and I like them for being unique. I don't think, I'll still play the games if they start to become similar. But, when I get tired of one series, I switch to the other. That's harder to do when they're similar, you know what I mean? That's something Ernest would say. But yeah, that's my video. Have a great rest of your day. TMG out. Bye bye.